H0ffman podcast, and we're joined today by H0ffman. And Hoffman's pretty amazing. He's an accomplished old school developer. He's a Demoscene in the Black Lotus, which is a absolutely huge demo group. He's turned into a game dev as well, so we're going to be talking about the process of porting and deving a lot of games for the Amiga. And the last time we had him on the podcast was 9 years ago, so that was episode 21, which is really insane. I think you've probably been quite active and you've done quite a lot of stuff as well since then, Hoffman. I know you're always producing stuff, so you're a very well-rounded kind of creative in the digital space. Could you introduce yourself to listeners who might not have heard the last interview or been kind of aware of what you do?
Yeah, so my name's Hoffman, but my real name's Ian, but no one calls me that, so, I suppose my background is back in the 80s and early 90s, a child of the microcomputer, the home micro boom, Spectrums, C64s, Amigas, and the rest of it. So I joined up with the demo scene back then in the late 80s, early 90s. Since then, I've been writing a lot of music. I had a pop at doing some DJing and a bit of a music career for a bit. But those things kind of pan out. So, since then, back into the demo scene, released a bunch of demos, written a load of music, and then started getting into kind of game dev via porting games from other systems to other systems. Wrote some DJ software for the Amiga. What else was there? Yeah, and just lots of stuff.
And you've even commented and judged on demo competitions as well. So some of the big ones.
Yeah, so I've done a bit of the commentary, but also I'm one of the organisers of Nova, which is the UK's kind of largest demo party. I do a lot of the competition work, so making sure the entries are correct, sorting out the ordering, and then doing comparing and stuff like that. So it's it's like the one day of the year where I should be just enjoying myself and being with friends is now a full 12-hour work day. So
Now, I was interested in kind of how modern demo parties compared to like the ones back in the day. So I always read about in Grapevine, like disc mags on the Amiga, kind of what they were like. Basically 1,000 teenage lads in sleeping bags, most of them not sleeping, drunk, trying to code things and copy discs. I mean, are they a bit more sensible in 2025, or is it still?
I mean, yes and no. The one in the UK in particular, it's where it's kind of it kind of self-regulates because we had a couple of noise complaints like 2 or 3 years in a row. So we've now got a midnight noise curfew. So we have to wrap everything up and be very civilized and not be shouty and loud outside the venue. So, but in terms of other demo parties, I mean, I think compared to back in the day, they're not nearly as crazy. A lot of us probably want to get a good night's sleep or need an afternoon nap now. But it's interesting. There's a lot of younger people that are kind of coming into it now, which is it's really nice to see. But yeah, I'd say it's a lot more welcoming. I mean, if you look at Revision, it's obviously the largest demo party in Europe, I think in the world actually, that they have like a special table for first timers. They'll take you on a tour. They'll explain to you how demo parties work and all that kind of thing. So rather than just going in cold and hoping someone tells you all this stuff, they do have facilities to ease you into the process, I guess. So
it's weird because it seems like something that's totally unorganized, but it's probably the most kind of organized thing you can go to. There's stipulations and rules with everything that you're going to produce there. And interestingly, you've gone into the kind of game development world, and we've seen a few demo groups kind of do that in the past, transition over. And has that kind of discipline and rigorous structure and deadlines helped you when you've gone into coding?
I'm quite lucky in the fact that I don't tend to. A demo party is quite handy because it does give you a deadline. If you don't have one and there isn't someone telling you this needs to be done by a certain date, it is quite hard to finish stuff. So so it's quite nice to kind of pick a target. That's why some of the game projects have been. The funny thing about game projects is they take so much more time that actually you find yourself just wanting to get it finished and done, so you don't have to look at it ever again. So in the nicest possible way. But yeah, I'm a bit weird in the fact that I get really focused on a project and I really want to see it through to the end. Yeah, if you've got most of it functioning, then why not? So.
I also thought as well back in the 90s when whenever I saw a game that came out from a demo group, they always were the best, most technically advanced games on the Amiga as well. I think it's stuff like, Pinball Fantasies, for example. I know DICE were originally or Digital Illusions, as they were, formed from the demo group foundations. I mean, is that kind of an aim? So, I mean, the demo scene was always pushing the hardware to the limits. Have you kind of carried that discipline into your games that you're developing these days as well?
Yeah. So, Seekonoid, for example, the particle effect for that it's incredibly technical because it's moving 1,000 particles at 50 frames a second with also all the other game code running at the same time, which is pretty tough in the first place. But actually, the idea for that came from one of my streams where we were watching a demo, like a classic 90s Amiga demo, and I was looking at this demo and I just said to chat, "Oh God, this got a lot more dots than me running." And then eMoon from TBL disassembled that demo to find out how it managed to push that many dots. I went, well, I've worked it out now. So we basically use the blitter to generate code for plotting dots. It's a very bizarre thing. So
we'll go into the kind of Amiga advantages and stuff a bit later on. But first, I was wondering, you've done quite a few crossover titles from the MSX. Why does the MSX kind of code base appeal so much to?
It doesn't. It's not so much that the code base appeals so much. It's the I've got a lot of nostalgia for it. So growing up, I had a friend who had an MSX2 and an MSX1, and he had a lot of the Konami cartridge games for it. So if you know the MSX, the rule is if it's on tape, then it's not going to be good. So
I think that's really rare as well, because we've had lots of MSX users listen to the podcast and talk to us, and they're from the Netherlands, or having one in the UK is a pretty rare thing.
It was, yeah. I mean, the only real one you had was the Toshiba, but then most of them they did do European variants and stuff, but yeah, it's pretty rare over here. So to get the exposure to the thing that I found about it was, there's a few things about the hardware on the MSX is the sprites flicker, the scrolling's jerky. But the one thing that in particular Konami games did is that the gameplay was just second to none. I loved playing those games, and you didn't mind about the flickering and the jerky scrolling because the games were just that much more engaging. I mean, that's even compared to a bunch of Amiga games that I used to get. I was like, this is still not quite as fun to play. So that's why that's why the MSX in particular just interested me. And in terms of why I started kind of porting MSX games was just by chance. It had been we're in lockdown version 1. There was no demo party, so I'm not going to see any friends. I'm not working on any projects, and I found someone had disassembled the full. The full cartridge of Metal Gear from the MSX and fully commented everything. And I was looking at it going, well, I wonder how the graphics works on the MSX. So you read the technical documentation, then you look at the data, and then you write a converter to the Amiga and go, oh, okay. Well, that works. Okay, so what if I start porting this bit of code over? And then you suddenly realise you've got a guy moving around the screen, and then, oh, well, now I've got to finish the game, right? So, yeah, that's it. In terms of the MSX, that's why... the games are brilliant. So if I could port every single MSX game to the Amiga, I would do it in a heartbeat, but it's a lot of work. So
one thing I loved on your version of it as well is, the soundtrack is obviously really bumping, with your background in the demo scene and your musical background is going to be. But you don't just do straight ports, you also upgrade these games to take advantage of the beefier hardware in the Amiga. I mean, how do you kind of choose what to upgrade then, and what kind of upgrades do you generally do?
That is a really interesting question because for it's kind of based on a decision. You have to make a decision at some point of what you're going to do. So for Metal Gear, for example, the graphics could have had a bump, for example, but it's such a beloved classic that if you mess with it, you're going to get pitchforks out, right? But also you have to say, right, well, if I don't upgrade the sound on this, because the sound chip on the MSX is pretty basic. If I don't upgrade the sound, well, you have to replace the sound anyway, because it doesn't really work. So you just, well, okay, I'll that's a good wheelhouse for me. I know what I'm doing there. I can work on that. I can make some tunes and then make some new sound effects and stuff. So you go on to, and then when I moved across to Knightmare, that was an MSX1 game. So the graphics were pretty basic by comparison. And Tony Galvez, who completely redid all the graphics for it, just gave me like 32 color versions of all the maps and everything. So in that case, I'm like, oh, well, yeah, we've got to make it look better, because if it does look like that on an Amiga, they'll be like, yeah, again, you'll get pitchforks of people going, this doesn't look, it looks rubbish. What are you doing? So
I think that's really interesting, retaining that feel of the original, because the ports that you've done them a lot later on, so everything's available. The talkie screens that you had going on were kind of upgraded and not from that version.
Just it's picking stuff that won't affect the gameplay, right, but can affect the presentation. So things like having like multiple language translations in there, making sure that the way the text writer was like using a proportional font and was nice and easy to read. Just anything that won't get in the way of how the game plays. You can't. It's like that's the things that you can't mess with. That's the core of the game, right? Unless obviously it's really, really frustrating.
Which is nice, because I think the Amiga is at points was hindered by really bad ports of stuff, just taken straight off Atari and then put onto the Amiga, not optimized. And what you're doing is picking the best bits and kind of putting them into the ports.
So the key is I base mine off of the original game code, so it'll need disassembly of the original game code, so you know exactly how everything works. And then when you port that or transcode that code across to 68,000 or whatever, then it functions exactly the same. So if you play one and the other, they'll feel the same. That's the key, I think, for me. So. Yeah.
I mean, if we're talking about, modern workflows as well, I mean, are there any kind of modern tools that you use to help you with the porting process then? Or something back in the day, I imagine it would have been, head down in something like an assembly like DevPack. Is the process different today?
Myself,
Yeah, how's it kind of work in 2025 then?
Well, obviously it's a lot easier because we've got emulators. So they're the time from making a code change to testing it is, that if you can get that as short as possible, that's the key. In particular for Amiga development, there's a plugin for VS Code called VS Code Amiga Assembly, and it's just everything's just kind of sorted out for you. So you can just install that plugin, and you can basically start coding in assembly on the Amiga in about 5 minutes. It's that quick. So and it's got a brilliant debugger in it and monitor, and you can like look at stuff. So when stuff does go wrong, you can fix it really quickly. And we've got everything else as well. Like we've got GitHub, and we can write tools for doing things like graphics conversion on multi-core mega gigahertz processors, which means we can convert the entire graphics for like a 4-disc game in about 4 seconds now, right? So if there is a change, you can just, this stuff makes stuff a lot easier. So
I was wondering if, communities outside of the Amiga community have said anything about this. Titles like Metal Gear, they've got a cult following. There's a fan base. Have you had any feedback from people?
Generally, I've been quite lucky, I think. So the good thing about bringing something like Metal Gear or Knightmare to the Amiga is you're bringing something new to an audience that probably have never seen it. So the majority of people that are going to see it are people that may not know the original. So they're effectively giving them something new. But most of the MSX people that I've spoken to or seen comments from have been pretty positive about it. So it's been pretty good. There's one particular YouTube comment on a video for Nightmare that was hilarious, where one person wrote in, "This is better than the original," and then the comment right underneath it is just "No."
Can't please all the people all the time, as they say. Yeah.
Can't.
Well, I'm interested as well, because obviously you're dealing with some pretty major franchises from the history of gaming. I guess kind of the elephant in the room would be the old, the copyright thing. I mean, how does porting a Konami game to something like the Amiga work? I mean, do they care about it? Are they kind of turn a blind eye? How's it kind of work?
You roll the dice with it, I guess. I mean, I guess the rule is, I don't own the IP, so I can't.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sell boxed copies of an Amiga Metal Gear port, because that's pretty mental. I mean, people
don't touch Nintendo as well.
I mean, basically, just don't touch Nintendo, I think, is that which I was joking to someone once, where the idea was to do a full 1-to-1 Super Mario Brothers port for the Amiga, but then hide it into a rubbish Space Invaders game that you have to complete before it loads the emulated game. So you kind of hidden it. It's like, here's my Space Invaders game.
If that ever comes out, that definitely wasn't you that did it.
It definitely wasn't me. No.
Yeah. Well, one thing I love about your Amiga ports as well is they often run on really minimum Amiga hardware. I mean, some of your games work on 0.5 megabyte, 1 megabyte Amiga 500s, whereas a lot of the other Amiga titles that are coming out, see some really ambitious ones that need like a high-end Motorola 060 and like loads of memory and graphics cards. But is there any reason that you kind of try and aim for that, the machine that we all had back in the day to run your games?
Yeah, it's just, coming from the demo scene, an Amiga 500 with 512K of chip and 512K of slow RAM is considered, that's the base platform, right? So if you release a demo that needs 3 mega fast RAM and a 68,000, you're basically going to get the pitchforks again, right? So like, you can't do a demo on the. So we determine what's kind of the base platform. So really, there's kind of two in the demo scene. The 500 is or OCS ECS is that memory configuration and a floppy drive. And that's it, nothing else extra. And really on the AGA side, like the base is basically just an 060 and a 1200. But for me, it's I haven't really done any AGA coding, so I know a little bit of how it works, but I don't know particularly well how that interplays with cycles and stuff, which is where you get really low level. But also for me, it's like that's the machine I had as a kid, and so that's the one I want to target. It comes like if you were to, for some reason, like time travel one of my floppy disks back in time, it would still work on your Amiga that was in your bedroom. So
that's really cool. Seeing that machine that you had like 30 years ago, doing things you kind of maybe always knew it could do deep down, but developers at the time, obviously with commercial pressures and having very short time to make games and probably dealing with ports to like 3 or 4 systems at the same time. I think the fact that you've had all this time to learn the hardware and really know how to make it sing, as it were, probably means that, it's really amazing to see it running on like an A500.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about Nightmare then and how you chose that, because when I first heard of that, I was like, I love that TV show.
It's not that TV show.
No, it's not that one.
So from Metal Gear, that was based on a disassembly by Manuel Pazos. So he put it all up on GitHub, and everything was commented. So I was going from having the source code effectively of the game completely commented. And I was kind of curious. If all of my projects are like, they're like, I'm curious about something, and then it gets out of hand, which is basically what they all happen. So I was curious about the process of how you turn an MSX ROM into source code. How do you do that? And I had a chat with Manuel, and he said, well, I use this disassembler, and this is how I set things up. So I thought I would pick something that was small. And Nightmares, the ROM cartridge is 32K, so it's only 32,000 bytes to determine what they do, right? It's not that many. But yeah, it was a long process. So again, this is another one of those. it's a great game. It's just fun to play. Even though it's kind of simple, but there's kind of layers to it and stuff. So I picked that mostly because it was small for a disassembly project, but also it was a fun game to pick at. So it was like, I think it was like 2 or 3 months of doing the disassembly until I knew exactly where everything was and labeled everything up. So I knew all of the where all the enemies were, how the attack patterns worked, like everything. And then I was like, well, I've got this now. I suppose I should port it to the Amiga. So.
And I guess, you're right, that small size and having it, the source code available, you wouldn't want to be reverse engineering titles or, going through that huge kind of effort. But
well, yeah, I mean, that's reverse engineering is kind of like it's my bag, that. So
maybe
it's just no, I've done a lot of it because so the reason why I picked that one is just because it was small. It's my first full disassembly reverse engineering project. But yeah, since then I've reverse engineered several arcade games and other stuff. So yeah, it's just once you've got that as kind of like a skill, it's quite useful. Like if you're looking at a new system, for example, like, oh, I wonder how this works. Okay, well, I'll disassemble this, and I can see, yeah, that's how that works. Great.
Well, one of the most famous ones with the source code out there already is Doom. So will we ever see a Hoffman Doom?
No, not going to touch out the barge pole. Yeah, so as I said, like it's for me, it's like it's bringing something new to a system that doesn't have it, and Doom is everywhere. It's even on pregnancy tests. So
yeah,
I saw it running on a smart fridge the other week on YouTube. Yeah, no shortage of ways to play Doom.
No,
well, I don't know if I'm ever saying this right, but Sissinoid.
So right, I mean, I love the ambiguity of it, right? So people always say it in whatever way they want. So the original game on the PC was made by a friend of mine called Gareth Noyce. I just went to see him last weekend, actually.
Triple was it?
Triple A. Oh, sorry, Triple A.
Yeah.
It's like A. So according to him, it's Seekanoid, and that's how I've always said it. Other people say it's supposed to be said other ways because it's kind of based on Raphael Checo, because he was the one who did Cybernoid. So people argue that it should be said some other way, but Gareth said it's Seekanoid, so that's what we're going for.
Well, why did that game, suit porting? And you really went in depth on that one. It wasn't just like a shine up, you added a lot of extra features.
Yeah, so that's it was an interesting one because me and Gareth were friends anyway. But it's kind of the other direction, right? So when you're porting from an MSX, you're going to an Amiga, which is effectively more capable, right? More megahertz, DMA and blitter and all that kind of stuff. But this was actually, although on the face value, or at least I thought when I started the project, it's just black and white. I mean, we only need to use 2-bit planes. That would be super quick. There'd be no problems at all with this. But then you realize that obviously it's running on a 2 gigahertz processor and in Unity. So, they've got a lot of cycles to spend, doing things like ray casting and particle effects and collision detections and stuff. But yeah, it's just one of those where it's, it got really in depth because it's, all I've got is a Unity project that will have like a little bit of C# code that says, do this maths. All right, that's fine. I want to turn this angle here. I want to do this, want to do that. And then you try and do that on a 7 megahertz, 68,000 processor. And you're like, well, I can't just do that like 5,000 times because like I can only do like one operation about 500 times in a frame at best. So you then have to work out, how can we do this in the most efficient way? So we turned into a kind of process of looking at how efficiently you can do some of these mathematics on a 40-year-old computer. So I
think that's really cool, taking a modern title, a modern kind of retro title, and then taking it back to the that was low spec machine.
Yeah, I thought it was. When I first value, I thought this should be all right. It shouldn't be a problem. But yeah, throughout the entire project, ever so just challenged like every couple of months. I thought, oh, I got this done, and then I've got to move through the game and go, right, let's go to this room, and then there's like spinning and rotating platforms. I'm like, how the hell do we do that? Like, I haven't got the RAM for this. How do we do it? So yeah, I think I built like 4 different collision detection systems for it, just because they needed all to be like unique and efficient and stuff. It's just crazy. So the other thing about that is when I was bringing it to the Amiga, what I didn't want to do was just have a straight port, right? Because the game, I think Gareth said he did it in about 6 to 8 weeks in Unity. That's as long as it took him to do it. I mean, the thing about it is it is really well balanced in terms of gameplay on the PC. It's really precise and everything. But he did it in like 6 to 8 weeks. So just bringing like that across to the Amiga, probably it just didn't seem like it was going to be enough to warrant like being a kind of full price game, I guess, in 2024 or whatever. So I kind of went a bit overboard on all the Easter eggs, like massively. So
we love a good Easter egg. Yeah. Well, how much did Gareth help you with the process then? I mean, was he quite hands on with it then? Were you kind of sending stuff over regularly to him? I mean, how did that kind of work?
I mean, I was sending like just videos and stuff of like, oh, this bit's done. So just giving them updates. It's mostly because, whenever you're working on something like this, when you get something working, you want to just throw it to someone and say, look, I did a thing. I think it works. Oh, look, how cool is this? So I'm in a bunch of Discords where people share that kind of stuff all the time, which is great. It wasn't so much that I would ask him questions about it, but I had the code anyway. In the Unity project, so I could just find out this stuff myself anyway. But we did have a really interesting weekend. So I went. It was basically nearly finished, apart from like a few bits and pieces here. So I was like, oh, I'm going to come and visit you then. He broke out his Amiga and his 2 joysticks. So I gave him a test build to play with. And in terms of the Seekonoid part of the game, he wasn't that bothered about that. He was like, you can do what you want to that. That's fine. The thing that he really wanted to make sure was right was Eudratron, which was the sub game in there, because that's his baby. That's the thing. He's like, it's really tightened up and balanced and everything. And it's just this brilliant moment. I was round there, and he was playing it for about 5-10 minutes. And he went, can you make the collision box on the player 1 pixel smaller? Okay. And then built another version, put it on a PCMCIA card, played it, and then played for another 5 minutes, went, yeah, that's it. That's it. Perfect.
Awesome.
Like one pixel difference. It's like, you feel that difference. Like, okay, yeah, I trust you, man.
That's how you know you got it completely right, having him sit there. Yeah. I think it's pretty amazing. For years we've kind of had the Amiga scene. There's not that much software that's kind of come out, not that many games, and now we're seeing like boxed Amiga games come out, and there's like labels like Thalamus that are releasing them. So, what was it like getting involved with those guys, and seeing your game boxed as well?
Well, I'm a child of the C64, right? So, if you were told my 12-year-old self that I would have a boxed game released by Thalamus in 2024, he would have lost his mind, because his wall was literally pictures of like games from Zap 64, Hawkeye, Armalite, all of that just all over my wall. I thought they were they just made the best games. I thought they were amazing. So it was just, I kind of couldn't believe it, really. Like, it was the guy who runs it, Andy, he's a brilliant bloke. He's a veteran of the game industry, and he just runs it so well. He's got he's obviously got a lot of passion for this stuff. He wants to make sure everyone's well looked after, and everything's done right. He's just brilliant at it. But yeah, just such a prestigious software company from back in the day. Released so many great titles,
and it looks gorgeous as well. Like, the box is beautiful, and the whole design behind it.
There's the attention to detail in terms of the box product. The physical thing you get is really lovely. Yeah, I just when it came through, I was kind of tearing up a little bit.
That must have been a proper fanboy moment, was it? Holding it in your hand for the first time.
Oh yeah, very much so. Yeah.
Well, it's not just the Amiga that you have been doing ports to. I remember at school, it always felt like there was someone who had a distant cousin who owned a Neo Geo, but I never remember seeing one back then. It was like this mythical console that the rich kids had, I always thought. But recently, you've actually ported a couple of Sega classics to the Neo Geo, including Shinobi and Golden Axe as well. So where did the idea to port these to the Neo Geo come from? And have you got much background with that system? What's kind of the story with it?
So with the Neo Geo, it's another one of those strange ones where I'd ordered a Mr. Pie from Taki Udon, and I was waiting for it to be shipped. And I was thinking, well, what am I going to do with this when it comes through, you know? And then I was thinking about arcade games, and then I tried to disassemble R-Type again and failed because I've tried multiple times. I just want to know exactly how that thing works, but it's kind of all right. That didn't work. So I thought I'd pick a 68,000 game, so I picked Shinobi just because it's a great game. And I found out that it's running on 68,000 processor, right, which is the same as the Amiga. So I'm very well versed in that already. So just started disassembling the arcade ROM for it. And it's one of those things where the thing I really love to do is understand how different hardware works, particularly retro hardware. So if you give me another system and it's got a 68,000 processor with it, then great. Yeah, I want to understand how it all works. So it started off as just as a disassembly project again, like, oh, how does Shinobi work? And then I had this weird idea of well, if I can disassemble it enough and not need to understand exactly how the game logic works, right? So when you disassemble something, you have to kind of label stuff up so you understand what does what. This is an enemy. This does this. This does that. But I had this idea of, well, if I could disassemble it so that the code assembles correctly, and I don't really know what it does, right? And then just apply just enough changes to, like, okay, so you want to make a scrolling background. This is how we do it on the Neo Geo. I kind of put some bits in here, and then, that'll do the graphical bit. This will do the sound bit. And then all of the game logic, which is obviously like the major part of the code base in any game, is kind of there, but I don't know how any of it works. Right. And that was the idea, was, can I disassemble something, kind of slapdash, and then just put kind of, I don't want to say emulation layers, because it's a lot more involved than that. So you end up doing graphics conversions, and then also you need to understand how the Neo Geo works as well, and how do we do sprites on that. But once you've kind of got both of those, I've got an understanding of how Shinobi does sprites and how the Neo Geo does sprites. I do graphics conversion and then write a routine to put those on the screen based on how the game code's just left that there. And then that's kind of how those things work. It's just like the code base for the Shinobi and Golden Axe port. I can't tell you what 90% of that thing does. It's just labeled with a number against it. I have no idea. All I've done is gone through and made sure that the controls are mapped in, the sound and the graphics are mapped in. Game code, no idea whatsoever. So
one thing I love though is you kind of, these are almost like the ultimate home ports as well. And then, for example, with Golden Axe, you kind of went a bit, above and beyond with that. Obviously, people that played the arcade version back in the day will know that it's packed with stolen movie sound samples. Conan the Barbarian, American Werewolf in London, Rambo's another one in there as well. And I heard that you actually ripped these off the original films to get higher quality versions.
Yeah. It's just I ended up on it's another one of those deep dives. I found a YouTube video that had linked all of the different sound effects to the original movie. So there's a couple of samples from American Werewolf in London in there as well.
Right.
Like there's, I think there's like a crowd screaming bit when like people run across the screen. I think it's on the second or third level. And when you hear it, because it's the sound effects in that game are quite synonymous. But then when you hear them in a movie, you're like, oh, well,
surreal,
that's where it's from. So just went to town. Like, okay, well, I can find where these original sources are, which means I can replace them. Because the problem is on the arcade ROM, they were quite low quality. So when you try and convert those, and then the Neo Geo can play much higher quality sounds. So I was like, I don't want them to sound that bad. So let's just go and find some and boost them and do some EQ and sound engineering on them, and then all right, there we go. So.
Well, I've noticed you've been at a lot of events as well, because you've got something to show now, and also you do a lot of demo events, but also quite a lot of Amiga events, and must have been seeing lots of games being released. And I was wondering, is there anything that's really caught your eye that you've seen from other developers recently?
Recently, MILV. I don't want to say MILV because that's for obvious reasons, but I've said it now, so never mind. I saw some clips of it on EAB. I think it was like a year or so ago, about how they're basically doing what's known as a bullet hell shooter on the Amiga, and it's on a base 1200. So there's no fast RAM, there's no CPU expansion on it, and I played that Amiga 40 in Germany, and that thing runs smooth as butter. And I was blown away by it. The thing looks amazing. And the best thing of all is that it plays well. It felt great to play. And it's an original game. So that's impressed me the most. You can always get like a tech demo of something. It's like, I've got a bunch of stuff running around. But what people don't understand is getting that far is it's not even a quarter of the battle. It's like 2% of the battle. To get to like 100% and actually get something that's physically released it's a big ask. So yeah, it's nice. It's nice to see that. I've got great hopes for this coming out, and it looks great, and just really impressive. So.
If people want to get a look at kind of what you're into on the demo scene right now, and kind of your thoughts on things, you actually do a column in Amiga Addict magazine as well, which is fantastic.
I'm a few months behind. I've been busy on other stuff. So.
Well, that's always going to be the thing with publishing a physical magazine as well. It's never going to be as up to date as the internet. But I always think it is great to sit down and just digest, because there's so much you cover in there that I'm not familiar with, and I go and download them and check them out. Have you found writing the column then, and does that kind of push you to kind of see what's out there even more?
To be fair, it's mostly the thing that kind of I look for any new demos anyway, and I hang out with in various Discords with a bunch of people that we've all got similar interests, right? Whether it's reverse engineering, coding, demos, art, music, whatever. So when something new comes out that's impressive or interesting, then we'll know about it. so yeah, it's kind of like I've always got my ear to the ground for anything that's new that's coming out. And I'm always on the Demoscene website, Poe or Demozoo, looking for new stuff. And yeah, like I'll always want to, when I'm doing my streams on like Wednesday, I want to try and run those things on the real hardware live, because obviously as a demo scene, you have to run things on the real hardware as best as you can, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you mentioning Discord is really important, actually, because stuff like the demo scene must have all moved on to Discord. I know we do Amiga Addict on it. There's also the PT Weekender DJ stuff. It's like there's all these little creative spaces and communities, and it really reminds me of like the IRC days, where you can go into somewhere and find complete expertise and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a bunch that I'm in. I mean, the one that I wouldn't say it's mine. It's actually Retro 32's. We just occupy a corner of it, because the one thing I didn't want to do was actually own a Discord server and be managing a community.
Yeah, modding.
I'm an admin there, but I don't know how it works, right? So all we do is we just collate there, right? But yeah, it's just coming from like a Twitch stream. And kind of just not, I wouldn't say hoovering up, but just kind of collated a bunch of people that we all had similar interests, right? We like coding in assembly, we like retro hardware, we like music, and we like art. And then you kind of end up collating into a Discord, and then you end up with this little pot of like people that are just like super knowledgeable. So someone comes and goes, I'm trying to do this with this. And then like 4 people just jump in and say, well, you could try this method. There's this method. There's this. Have you tried this? Do you chuck us a build? I'll go and debug it. Oh, I can see what the problem is. It's lovely to see, like, just, from like a Twitch stream to just a whole community of people that are just helping each other out and just wanting to muck about with stuff on retro
I think it's spawned a lot of creativity, and also stuff like, you're in TBL, which is the Black Lotus, which is one of the Demoscene groups that I used to look at with awe, like, oh my God. And I still do nowadays, because Eon was released, and what a demo that was. And I can imagine, using Discord and stuff like that's really helped, compared to, you'd probably be sending floppy disks across Europe.
Oh yeah, totally.
Back in the days,
When I say, like, what's the biggest tool for making anything, whether it's a retro game or a demo, it's essentially like Discord or Slack or just some kind of social medium that pulls you all together and gets you like talking together. They're just such essential tools. So basically, a bunch of the demos that I've worked on recently, we just like fire up a little channel somewhere, and we'll get everyone in, and then the ideas just start bouncing around. I think the last demo I worked on this year, we had everyone was just in there working on stuff, and I don't think there was we were like working on separate sections of the demo. Like, I'm going to try and do this, okay. But then we'd share stuff in there, and I don't think there was a single part which wasn't basically fueled by other people just popping in and sharing ideas. And how can we do this faster? How do we do this? And it's the most essential collaborative tool is something like Discord. So
it's the same with the magazine. We couldn't, get it. We just get nagged by the editors in every channel. It's great.
Well, one thing I've been hearing about on the demo scene recently, and the title of it kind of blew my mind ever so slightly, is no CPU demos. So, I mean, for people that might not be familiar with these, I mean, how do they work? And have you got any plans to do any?
Yes and no, but in terms of plans, so it's a really hard concept to understand. But the Amiga in particular just has the perfect set of hardware to be able to do this, right? So, and the reason is that it's got a coprocessor and a blitter, right? So there are 2 bits of Amiga hardware that you know they exist, right? Whether you've used them or not, I mean, you'll know what a copper bar is, which is usually RGB rainbow vomit bars floating around your screen, right? In old demos from 1988, right? So that's it's a weird beast, that thing. It can basically touch all of the Amiga's hardware just from a list in memory. Right, so it can set up your screen displays. It can control the audio. It can tell the blitter to move graphics around. It can tell sprites to move around. It can do everything to do with your display. So the idea is that that combined with the blitter as well, because you can combine like 3 different inputs and then have an output and have like a logic function on those 3 inputs, means that actually you can do calculations, like mathematical calculations, just with what's effectively a graphics chip, right? So usually you'd use it to like put a sprite on screen or shift it and mask it and cut it out and stuff. But the blitter also, if you just set the inputs of like, I've got 3 areas of memory with numbers in them, and I can combine them in a bit operation here, I'll get an output. So you can actually do things like counters, all sorts of things like that. So that's where the idea comes from. The biggest, obviously the big one that we've seen recently was the call to action by Blueberry and I can't remember what demo group they called it, the Demostru All Stars. I can't remember. But that was like the first example of it. And I actually, if you fire it up in WinYoE and open up the debugger, you'll see that the CPU does nothing. It's literally there, just sat at a memory location going, I've got nothing to do, because there is an operation on the 68,000 where you could just halt it so it does nothing at all. So yeah, that's
I love that. It's like the expiration of limitation. People put restrictions in themselves doing, like, 50k demos or even smaller ones. But now we're actually limiting the hardware that's being used. We're right, we're just going to ignore this whole section of the machine. It's pretty amazing.
I mean, that's the thing about the Demoscene, right? It's like, oh well, we're restricting ourselves with this old hardware. Why don't we do it in hard mode and only give ourselves 64k of executable to do it in, or 4k, or 256 bytes, or
let's make life harder even more. Yeah, just for the challenge.
But it's that. I mean, that's the thing I've always loved about it. It's that old mantra of restrictions breed creativity. So it could be anything from, like, okay, I don't have a lot of space to do what I need to do. How can I still make this soundtrack slap with 32k of disk space? Okay. Or, okay, I've got no sound chip. Like I was on the ZX Spectrum beeper. And there was an engine that I found that just sounded amazing. So it's one of those where, oh, this thing is really restricted, but can I make it slap?
Well, talking of stuff that slaps, PT1210 is a really amazing piece of software, actually. I DJ with it. There's many people that DJ, and it enables your Amigas to turn into a pair of decks. PT is Pro Tracker, but 1210 is like, it's the SL1210, which is
that's where it was named from. Yeah,
industry standard.
And there's
decks.
a couple of them over there.
Got mine next to me as well, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm jealous,
30 years,
guys.
still going strong.
Yeah, same here. Yeah.
And I was just wondering, like, you must be pretty amazed to see the amount of DJs that have popped up. We did a thing called the PT Weekender recently, and it was a whole weekend of DJs doing all different styles. You must be really proud of that.
It literally boggles my mind. I'd never really thought about it. I was just, I thought it's amazing, like, seeing these people kind of, some of them kind of coming into the Amiga because of, like, this kind of software. They like DJing, they like music, but they also like restrictions and stuff. But it wasn't until I think it was with I was hanging out with my mate Tio at the Amiga 40 event, and he just said, you do realize, like, this DJ software has created a massive community of other DJs and musicians. Well, yeah, that's not my fault. I'm not taking any responsibility for it.
It's amazing. I had a kid from the local university approach me and say, I'm doing a whole kind of degree on Amiga tracking music, and he's mentioning PT1210 as well and stuff. So it's going wider beyond what you ever thought it would kind of be.
If he needs to speak to anyone, put him in touch. Right?
Yeah, will do. And I was wondering, another question is, do you NASP? Which, if people don't know about this is
well, I NASP when I'm at Mikey's place, because he's got a third Amiga with them there. So you got to hit the air horn every now and then.
So this is an interesting piece of software called a new Amiga sample player, and it's it's kind of a bit broken, but it's really good fun. And you can trigger different samples from that, and you combined with PT1210, you can create a whole soundscape. You're obviously using it for air horns and stuff. Do you plan to go beyond the air horn with it at all?
No, I just my thing's more. I'm a bit of a purist. Like, if you give me two turntables, I'll do a set. What I love about PT1210 is, because, I mean, even the latest versions, it's really quick to get around and load tunes up.
You've put that on GitHub now, haven't you? That's
and
that's got caching and stuff on there.
All the caching and all that kind of stuff. It's one of those. It was 10 years old. So which is also quite mind-boggling, isn't it? That it's, you kind of you work on these projects, and then time goes by, but you're not really focusing on what's happened before. That's done. Okay, it's just, what else takes my interest. And it was at was it the PT Weekender event at Mikey's shed, And he said, "Oh, you realise it's like 10 years old now?" So is it? Or maybe we'll make the source public then.
Yeah, because there were like beta versions of the latest version and stuff going around, swapped and stuff, and it was like people held it close to their chest, and then
I thought it was time to just because the problem is that I haven't got, because I'm always involved in something else that's new. It's hard for me to go back to that code and go, oh well, I'll go and make some changes or whatever. Because as far as I'm concerned, it works fine for me. Right? So. I know the community is probably dying for like some extra updates, but the thing is, the code is there. Like, you could do them yourself. Like, it's on GitHub.
And often you pile too much on as well, it loses its basic functionality, and you get a feature creep.
I mean, there's someone mentioned like doing a sync function between two Amigas. I'm like, no, take the fun out of it.
Yeah,
keep it raw.
Yeah.
I mean, this year's been a really big one for the Amiga. It was the 40th year of the Amiga. We were over at the huge show in Germany last month as well, which I think Ravi mentioned there was over 1,200 people came through the door on the Saturday. I mean, I have heard some people kind of say that, that's it now, it's peaked, that there won't be anything like that again. I mean, what's kind of your thinking with the Amiga scene then, now that we've hit the 40th year? Do you think that momentum's going to keep going then? Or what would you think?
I mean, to be fair, like I think after the Amiga 30 event, there was a massive influx in terms of it just in terms of the demo scene, that it kind of went mental. So you saw loads more demos, loads more games over the last 10 years. I don't think that's going to die off anytime soon, because I think what you've got is this process of like, okay, it's 30 years since the Amiga was out. And then people they're kind of into their later years. I don't want
we're getting there.
My daughter's is doing, university and doesn't live here anymore. So, we end up with a bit more free time here and there. So, and that's, and people will see other people doing stuff and go, oh God, yeah, I love that old machine. It was brilliant to play with. It was brilliant to do creative stuff with. And these are my old friends doing this stuff. We'll come back and do stuff. So I don't think it's got any signs of slowing down. The demo scene might put it away, that's for sure.
And I think people taking them up again, stuff like that A500 Mini coming out and the A1200 and stuff, just like mainstream stuff, hitting people's nostalgia and then entering the scene again. I think it's got a long while until it kind of slows down and finishes. It's had a second breath of life, I think.
Yeah, that's what I think those machines do. Really, I mean, they're not really. They're for someone that's disingrained in the scene and retro hardware and making sure that stuff runs on the machine from like 40 years ago. They're great. They're great machines. They emulate well. They're nice and easy to get into. For Dave who wants to play sensible soccer again, he can get around to it. He can do it. But it does have a knock-on effect where those kind of things they're in the public. They might be in a shop. They might have someone that used to write music or do graphics on an Amiga and maybe had some Demoscene friends, or maybe used to make games on it, and they'll see it in the shop and go, oh, I remember using the Amiga. And then they might pick that up, and then that might snowball into, well, now I've bought a 1200 with an 060 processor and a 500 with an action replay, and now I've got 4
It's a dangerous
CRTs.
Yeah, that's how it starts.
Yeah.
I think you're right, though. It is cool that we're going to be able to, like when this system comes out, the A1200, you're going to be able to walk into like game and see an Amiga 1200, as it were, looks like an A1200.
Amiga format on the shelves as well.
Yeah. It is an insane time. I mean, I hope you're right. I hope, there will be people that will be, I remember the Amiga from back then. Then they'll find this whole community like, what the hell? This has all been going on while I've been away. Yeah. So I'm sure there will be some of that.
I always find that is one of the funniest things, but because I came back to the Amiga scene in about 2010, I think it was, because I was invited to a demo party that I didn't know was happening in the UK. I kind of went to that and met a bunch of people that knew my old scene names, the ones that I'd thrown away. And so I kind of went to this demo party and went, oh, there's a load of people here that know all my old stuff. And then I'd go online to find that someone had archived all 200 or so Pro Tracker mods that I'd written from the ages of about 15 to 20 that I'd lost on a hard drive crash. And they're just all there online. And it's just, when you kind of go back and go, oh, it's all still there. It's all still happening. It's been quiet, but, it's very busy.
The fact that people remember what you did as well. That must be quite heartwarming. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, some of the things I wish they didn't remember, but there we go.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff I did on the Amiga. I'm glad
there's some Usenet posts that Dan.
Oh yeah, there's a few of them around. Yeah, but I mean, we're talking about kind of just to wrap things up. Hoffman, I mean, obviously you're very active on the Amiga community in Neo Geo ports. I know you did Metal Gear for the Mega Drive as well, which is very cool that you're getting into more console stuff. I mean, what's kind of planned next from you? Than anything you're working on that we should look out for in coming months?
Well, I think we already announced it actually. So, Head Over Heels Return to Blacktooth, I think it's called. Thalamus coming out with. So that's Colin Porch, who did the Atari ST port of Head Over Heels, the original one.
Yeah,
has written like a whole new game based on that Atari ST code. I've been tasked with porting that to the Amiga and making it work. We're doing a few little bells and whistles here, nothing too major. But the I'm probably breaking an NDA here, but here we go.
Exclusive.
Yeah, but one of the things I've already done the work for it, so I know it works. But we're doing. So you remember on cover discs, you used to get Atari ST and Amiga dual format discs.
Yeah.
The game is going to come out on a dual format disc, a single disc that will work in both your Atari ST and your Amiga at the same time.
That's cool.
So that's a lot of fun. There's we should be finishing up on that pretty soon. Can't tell you about that. No.
But things are in the pipeline though.
Things are in the pipeline. Yeah. The other thing is I've just been mucking about with the Sharp X68000 recently. So I have one here. I mean, it's down there. I'm not going to drag it out, but so I, as a present to myself after finishing Metal Gear, I bought myself a broken Sharp X68000 from Japan that was still very expensive. I bought a broken one, got that up and running. And it's one of those systems that I've wanted to understand how it works for ages. So I disassembled a game on it because that's a great way to understand. You start looking at code and then looking at the hardware. It is mental. For 1987, that thing has got bells and whistles for days. It is amazing. We're just kind of chipping away at that. Maybe you might see a demo at some point. We've got sound drivers working. We just, the rest of that kind of stuff, and then rallying some troops to do some coding on it. So we'll see what happens with that.
Watch this space.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, Hoffman, it's always great to catch up. And obviously I'll link your itch page in the show notes as well. People want to check out these amazing ports that you've been doing. Of course, your column every issue of Amiga Addict as well. People want to get an overview of what's happening on the demo scene. Your picks on there as well. So thank you so much for coming on, and it's been great catching up. Let's not leave it 10 years next time.
Yeah, yeah, good.